What's up, motocross action? Welcome back to our 125 project bike video series. In this video, we have a Twisted Development TBT Racing Yamaha YZ125. In stock trim, the Yamaha YZ125, which has remained unchanged for well over a decade, is the most fun bike to ride out of any current 125cc tiddler on the market, due to its unmatched Kayaba SSS suspension and old but great chassis. On the other hand, the 34 horsepower output makes the YZ125 the slowest in comparison to the 2020 KTM 125 SX and Husky TC 125. However, that doesn't mean that the YZ125 doesn't have the potential to win with the Top Guns. It just needs some work. This is where Twisted Development came in. They knew they had their work cut out for them to make it competitive with the other 125cc machines, as the YZ125 is at a 3 horsepower disadvantage. On the other hand, Twisted's Jamie Ellis didn't want to build a time-ticking bomb. Instead, he wanted to build an engine that didn't break the bank. He focused on porting the cylinder, adding a Wiseco piston, increasing the compression, modifying the port timing, changing the squish band, and adding a bolt-on FMF exhaust, as well as many other small modifications to make the complete package work together. Even with all the modifications, the Twisted Development was still able to run on 91 pump gas. Twisted Development is known for its fire-breathing 4-stroke engines that compete against the factory bikes at the AMA Nationals. Of course, these engines come with a very high price tag. Twisted Development's niche market is building privateer racers engines that can keep up with the budgetless factory competition, but little do people know that they specialize in 2-stroke engines as well. The already great Kayaba components were sent to our friends over at Wrench 42 Motorsports, who are the California-based TBT Racing suspension division. In the past, we have left the YZ125 suspension components alone for our project bikes or swapped out the parts for Kayaba Works components, but TBT told us they had a setting that worked better than stock, so we had to try it out. Since our YZ125 already has been through the ringer from hours of testing and racing, the bike needed a facelift. Dennis Stapleton was the guy that had to do the dirty work to make our YZ125 look like new again, with lots of elbow grease and aftermarket companies to help. Dennis upgraded the worn-out clutch with the Recluse torque drive clutch pack, Renthal bars, sprockets, and grips were used. MX Champ wheels replaced the stock ones. A TMV chain guide and oil plug were used. Scar aluminum throttle tube, brake clevis, axle blocks, and brake reservoir covers were used. A twinner filter, STI tires, Samco radiator hoses, factory effects graphics, and more were added to the YZ125 project bike. While the bike was apart, Dennis scrubbed down the rest of the bike before he built it into a great looking machine. On the track, our Project YZ125 was a better handling and faster motorcycle. The engine packed a punch in the mid-range that pulled hard all the way to the top. The YZ125 did trade some low-end grunt to gain more top-end, so it took a few laps for our test riders to get used to the updated power band. They had to be sure not to drop their RPM down too low, or the clutch had to be abused to get it back into its sweet spot. Luckily, the Recluse clutch could take a beating. The MXA test riders liked the strong mid-range burst that got the YZ125 up to speed with assertiveness. It had a very light throttle feel. We were shocked with the TBT Racing suspension mods, especially coming from our stock or works background. The Kayaba SSS forks held up better, tracked straighter, and were plusher, and allowed the chassis to respond quicker. Every test rider from skinny to fat to slow to fast loved the Wrench 42 Motorsports suspension setup. Overall, the MXA Wrecking Crew was very happy with our YZ125 project bike. The overall cost didn't break the bank, and the improvements were worth every penny. We also built an R&D KTM 125 SX and Pro Circuit Husky TC 125 project bikes to shoot out with the Twisted Development YZ125. So make sure to keep checking motocrossactionmag.com. And another easy way to stay up to date on what MXA is releasing, click the subscribe button on our YouTube channel.